Picked the wrong week to quit sniffing glue.
Well, hello and welcome back. It is it's Monday. It's time for another new kit, another new model to build. It's the week after Thanksgiving, which every good American knows means we are slam bang into the Christmas season. No sooner does the Macy's Day Parade end with Santa Claus than we switch gears after a meal and we are full steam into Christmas. And I can't think about Christmas without thinking of my favorite films. Yes, Ralphie's Christmas Story. Probably my #1 favorite Christmas movie. But our close second is this little gem, Gremlins. You know it. You love it. I worked at the theater. I was a projectionist / assistant manager by the time that Gremlins came out. So I probably got this thing memorized backwards and front. So I thought it'd be a great time to build a Gremlins kit. And this is a 3D printed kit. It's available from various places on the internet. I got it from CG Trader. This is the kit. This is now I would fully recommend. Because I endorse what this gentleman has to say. It says support the artist, not the reseller. And this is the actual artist that created this kit. And if you want to freeze frame any of those socials, you can do that and go to his direct site and buy it from him. It's a sad fact in the CG modeling world is that sometimes people will buy up a set of files and put it out for sale again, and the original artist doesn't see a penny of it. That's why I always, especially when I'm doing like those Sucker Punch kits, I hate to keep going back to that, but I always go back to the original artist when I can and buy my files from them so that I know that they are getting the fruits of their own labor. This is from a gentleman named Michel Balares Rodriguez. I'm going to murder his middle name. It looks like Balares Rodriguez. That looks like his signature there. But this is, I first saw this kit built and painted lovely at Wonderfest. I think it was just this last year. And then shortly thereafter, my good friend Wayne Green over at World of Wayne also built and painted. I believe William Dickey sent him a set of the parts. And he painted it up lovely and did a great job with it. Well, I'm taking my turn. It's Christmas time. It's time to do some Gremlins. I just got done doing that, the Orion Clipper, the Pan Am Clipper, and it was all shades of white and gray, and it had some lighting, and it had logos to paint to replace the decals. This has none of that. This has no lighting. This has no decals. But it has all the colors in the rainbow in it. So that's what I'm looking forward to. Something that doesn't consist of white, gray, and black. So let's go and meet the parts. It's time for everybody's favorite game, Meet the Parts. And today's contestant is a lovely little creature from Kingston Falls. It is the Gremlin. Gremlin on a theater seat. And again, this is the kit that we are building. Now I'm going to take some liberties with this kit. I did not print the base that this kit came from, nor did I print the name, because you know how I feel about obvious names on the base. So I'm gonna neglect those two pieces, and I'm going to make my own sort of base. I'll probably get one of those wooden round circular bases to set the whole thing on. But that does mean in this instance I'm gonna have to cover up these two holes where the nameplate pegged into it. It's a fairly sizable kit. I'm gonna call it about 1/3 scale based on the ear span and between this and my full-size Gremlin. So I'm going to call it about 1/3 scale. It's got some lovely big pieces that make up the chairs. It's got, well, let's just show you. Now, here's the thing, and I'll point it out to you, and you'll know, and maybe you'll care, maybe you won't. These are all 3D printed pieces, obviously, and when you put something that is this big, that is 3D printed, you put holes in it so that you hollow it out, and then you put holes in it so that it'll drain. So knowing how the pieces go together, you're never going to see this side, you're never going to see the back, you're never going to see this side. Only side you're going to see is this front. And again, these are the two pegs that if you had the name, you wouldn't even see this much of it. Well, I was printing this piece with all these holes in it, and as I pulled it off the printer, I noticed it had this big old gash in it, this big rip where the print had failed. And I'm thinking, geez, you know, that was quite a few hours and a lot of resin. Do I want to reprint this or not? And then I came to the realization, no. I mean, if you get a resin kit, a cast resin kit, and one of the parts is broken or warped or got bubbles in it, you don't throw out the piece. You make do. You fix it. And as luck would have it, a lot of this is never going to be seen. Why? Well, because the Gremlin sits on the chair. It sits on the chair. It has a drink that goes behind him, and it has a bucket of popcorn that goes in front of it. Now, by the time you put the side arm on there, show me where that rip is. Show me where that big ugliness is. Well, it's right there. You can see it, but it's certainly not anything that I can't patch with epoxy sculpt and just get on my merry way. It is not a horribly visible part. It does not stop me from doing anything else that I want to do. But we are back with our multi-pieced resin printed kits, and you know, sometimes you have to adapt the pegs and cut them down where they're too big, that sort of thing. So we're going to be doing some of that. But look at the detail in that bucket of popcorn. And by the time you put Gizmo in there, it's just the cutest thing. And that's going to give me an opportunity to paint up this beat up paper tub, and the colors of popcorn and the fur of Gizmo. All kinds of opportunities abound. But by the time maybe take the drink cup off and take the body off. By the time you get this arm in and this arm in and the back of the chair in, precious little of this pad is ever even seen. But what we're going to do is we're going to take a page from the Time Machine and the Elvira couch, and we're going to flock just this back part, and we're going to flock the seat. So that's going to also cover up a lot of it. So if I can make a halfway decent patch with epoxy sculpt in here, paint it and flock it, you'll never see that. So that's going to be a fun thing and a wonderful way to make the lemonade out of lemons. For the sides of this chair, I think I want to go with some sort of patent leather, and I don't know whether it needs to be red or black. It could be fun to make this look like a black leather chair with a red seat and a red back. I think that could be a lot of fun. If we don't do that, then we at least will make it like a vinyl slash patent leather sides to it, and then a flocked seat. That'll give me a nice breakup in textures as well. And so we'll put that to the side. And here is the stripe, and we could tell it's striped because he's got the mohawk there. Stripe fits together very well. There's going to be some putty, but not a lot. The hardest part really is going to be taking care of his wee chompers, because I'm going to need to paint inside his mouth, get that colored, just a dark red, and then glue this in and do the puttying around his jawline there. And then he fits together pretty darn smoothly. He fits in like this. The arms are particularly well done. And then the legs are going to take a little bit of putty, a little bit of smoothing. But I can do him all as one thing. I'll glue him all together, because when he sits down in the chair, Sorry, he lost his jaw. When he sits down in the chair, the bucket of popcorn can go in between it just like that. So he'll sit, bring this all forward, he'll sit like this. I need to cut down the size of that peg. It could be something with how this distorted when it printed, but it doesn't fit very flush. But he goes in like this. The construction on this is not particularly complicated or challenging. It's just a matter of doing everything in the right order. Because, like I said, he'll fit like that, and then I can put Gizmo down in the middle like that, and we'll be fine. Also, in addition to the Gizmo and the Gremlin, we've got these 2 eggs, which is going to allow me to just go nuts on making the goopy, well, you know, the egg texture, how they was all slimy and multicolored and all that. And by the time you put the back of the chair in it, and let me see, where's the, oh, he also has these wonderful 3D glasses, which I can put a red and a green film in, or a red and a blue film in, and that will complete the look, and I will be able to remove the glasses should I want to, but still have them, maybe hang them off of the side of the chair if I want to show it that way. Now, I know this is meant to pay homage to the scene in the theater when they're watching Snow White, but it's obviously not the same type of theater chair, because the theater chair, and trust me, having worked in the theater long enough, I know exactly what those theater chairs look like, and they would have a bottom that would have, well, it would have been 2 narrow stiles on either side with a piece of wood that came out and provided the armrest. Take this all apart again. And then you would have had a seat that was on a spring that would have folded up like this. You've seen them. You've been in enough theaters to know. This is more or less a big old leather chair, and not really a good representation of the theater chair. So I think we've already had enough liberties in the design to know that we could take liberties with our paint job. So that's it. I'm going to start cleaning up some parts and putting them, put some together, and I'll go ahead and fill this area in with the epoxy sculpt, and maybe we can start priming and painting right away. Alrighty, so I've got the majority of this put together. I had opted not to glue Stripe's head down to his shoulders because it's so intricate that it'd be easier for me to paint just as a separate thing. The joint is very clean. I can put it together at the last, or when I'm getting ready to put him on the chair, and I think it'll just be easier that way. But you can see I've got the jaw in, I've got it puttied, I've got his legs in. This one was probably the one that needed the puttying the most, and I've cut his insertion tab all the way down, because for him to sit flush, which he does with no problem, I just need the tab was actually fighting it. So we can cut that tab out, that's no big deal. And then he sits here. Oh, you can see I've got the rip taken care of, and I've got the 2 boxes here. I'll cover it up. I'll further camouflage those with paint, but you can see I've taken care of those pockets. But he sits just like this, and Gizmo can still fit down inside. I've also shortened the tab on Gizmo because it just was longer than it needed to be. And I think the last one is the soda. Let's see, the soda cup. Yeah, that'll fit just like that. And then we've got the 2 sets of eggs. Now, I did notice and I don't know exactly whether it's a question of how it fits on the base that I didn't print or not, but the eggs don't quite sit flush with the floor. So I'm thinking of just putting those in place and then shoving some sculpt underneath there to make a nice level flatness with the rest of the ground there, but here you can see everything kind of pieced together. And let me put some wax paper down on that so that this will stick to that and not my nice cutting mat. Good morning, everybody. It's Tuesday. It's day 2 on the Gremlin build, and I've got some base coating started. I decided on a 2-tone color for the chairs. Overnight, all of the epoxy sculpt that I put on there has cured and set up and hardened and all that. So I am ready to progress with the painting of the chair. Now, like I said, I decided to make this a 2-tone chair because I wanted to. Because I think the black and red will look really nice. This is going to be red flocked on the seat and on the seat back. But the chair itself is, they're going to be black. And I think a nice semi-gloss will look like this. Let me see, let me put this here. And the reason I wanted to do black on the sides is because I think these eggs, these pupils, the putrid state, I think those will show up a lot better against the black than they would the red, even the burgundy. I think the black would still be better. And it's going to make the rest of it pop, I think, a little bit. So we've got the chair. I've got the chair back. Now I've got this taped off because I'm going to paint this so that I can flock it. But now that the black has had a chance to dry, I can go ahead and do that. I was thinking that I needed to use, I just used a plain old everyday black rattle can cheapy spray-on black primer because I just needed to get it dark. And then I can go over this with the semi-gloss Tamiya black, which is what I really want to use. And then once that has had a chance to dry, I can do the flocking. So I think what I need to do at this point is to take the tape off and do the red undercoat, which is this. It's a Hull red. And then well, if you remember correctly from the time machine, what I did was I did a base coat of a Hull red, and then I did a bright red highlight on over top of that, and that just provided the undercolor for the flocking, so that if the flocking developed any gaps in it or weaknesses in or bare spots, then they would show red through that, because the adhesive / paint that goes under that holds the flocking in place is itself cardinal red. So I'm going to get this ready to go, and I've got a base coat of just a dark greenish brown. It's actually called black green or green black Tamiya. It is, yeah, black green XF22 that I've just base coated the Gremlin himself with, and I have not done any of the lighter. I still have to base coat the cups and the popcorn and all of that, but you know, little by little we'll get there. The next thing to do, like I said, is let's move these pupae off of here, and let's see, get the chair back up, get my paper towel out, lay this down, and I'm going to go ahead and spray this with the Hull red and get that ready. Alrighty, I've got the bright red on, just on the highlight spots. And that's the only areas that's going to be red. I can go ahead, take this tape off now, and do the. I got to get the adhesive red out and a big brush, and I think I need to maybe go buy a chip brush or something that I can sacrifice. Get a real cheapy brush to do that because it's a fairly large area, and I'm kind of not worrying about the scan lines and the print lines because the flocking is going to cover that. So happy about that. And by time, I think this is really going to be nice. By the time we get the sides of the chair on, I think it's going to be quite neat. And then it'll be black in the back there. So yeah, things are going well. And then once the chair's out of the way, I can get on with some more of the more detail-y type of work. Okay, kids and kittens, it is one of my favorite times. It's flocking time. Time to make like little Bo Peep and get the flock out of here. I have got the seat and the seat back, which you cannot see off stage. I've got them prepared, ready to be flocked. Now, flocking is a fun and it's an instantaneous finish, and it's just a joy to behold when you do it right. You start with using this undercoat / adhesive, which I think is nothing more than enamel paint, but I'm willing to be corrected on that. You paint this over the area that you're going to put your flocking down on, which to me, for this bottom half, is going to be these two sections here, and then just the top, maybe a little bit down each side, but it doesn't have to go completely down the sides. And then you take this puffer, and you puff the flock on it. Now, when the puffing comes to happen, I'm going to turn the camera off because these little fibers get everywhere. And luckily for us, we've had a pandemic, so I've got plenty of face masks left. So I can put this mask on, because the last thing you want to do is breathe any of this stuff in. You'll find yourself coughing and you won't know why. And particularly when you start coughing up red stuff, it is not appealing. It makes the mind assume all the worst. So what I'm going to do, very simply, is I'm going to do the bottom part first. Take a big old wide brush here into my paint, and I'm just going to paint this over the area that I want the flocking to stick to. And I learned from the time machine that I was a little too stingy with my paint, and it did not enough of it stuck the way I liked it. When I did the Elvira couch, I happened upon a good mix, because everything stuck on that just fine, but I think I got a little gun shy on the time machine, so I am putting it on good and thick. Right up against that line. Thank you, Mr. Compressor. And especially down in the creases. And this is just where I want the flocking to stick. Now, I'm going to go ahead and do a little bit around the edge here, and then flock this bit before I turn it up on its side and do the. No, I'll tell you what. This is I shouldn't. I should just go ahead and do all of this, because I don't want to try putting wet adhesive over the dry flocking, and I'll just gum up my brush and then turn around and gum up the flock and all of that kind of stuff. So let's go ahead and just get this painted on nice and liberally and good and thick, and then we will set it in the flocking bucket. Yes, I'm going to make a little sign for it that says flocking bucket, and we are going to do the puffery, making sure that I'm trying to keep it out of the holes there. It doesn't really need to go down in the peg holes. I just want it to go right up against it, but not down inside the peg holes. Okay, have we got a good coverage? This does have a short working time, so you want to kind of do your duty and then get out of the way. You don't want to take all day with it. And like I say, I'm just going down around the top edges here. Nothing that's going to, because we've got the side arms of the chairs are going to take care of a lot of this. So just a little bit down, and now see where that dent in the cushion is. I want to make sure I've got flocking to go in that dent, because you're going to see that. Okay, I'm going to stand this back up just like that. We're going to move the adhesive and the brush off the table so that we don't accidentally get any of the flocking inside the wet paint. Okay, so we're going to turn the camera off. Well, I'll tell you what. I'm feeling in a good mood here. Let me put my mask on, and I'm going to do the top edge, and then I'll turn the camera off. Okay, mask is on. Puffer is ready to go. Can you see it? Let me see. Let me pull back. Maybe do something like that and zoom out. Yes. Okay, we're going to puff away. Okay, that's the front edge of the seat. Now that I've got that puffed, I'm going to turn the camera off because it's going to get cloudy in here. Alrighty, it's covered. It's covered. I'm going to move it off of the stage now so that I can put the back of the chair in. But that is nice and flocked, and I can even do it a little shaky. And then all this stuff that's in the bowl or the tub here, I can scoop up and put back in the bag. Now, all the what's happening along the sides here, I don't care. The arms are going to cover a lot of that, and the back is going to cover that. I just want to make sure it was going down over the top of the corner, and it is. So we're going to do a little shaky, get some of the worst of that off, and then we're going to leave this alone and come back to it tomorrow. Yes, it needs to dry completely overnight, and we will come back and finish it up tomorrow. Alrighty, the back of the seat is done. Of course, it needs to be drying for a day before I can dust it off, and so I'm going to take it out in the other room where the cushion is, or the base is, and just sit this in it as it should be, and we'll let this go for another day. We'll come back to it tomorrow and clean it up, and now I can reclaim all of the flock that's in here. Good morning, welcome back. It's Wednesday, and look who's here. It is the chair. Finally rested from being flocked and left to dry all night. We're ready to blow off the extraneous flocking and put the arms on it today. Now, while that was being a good boy and drying in the other room, I was painting some of the incidental stuff, and I'm working on the popcorn here. Now, the instructions or the examples and everything show, your typical popcorn bucket as being red and white, kind of like a KFC bucket. And while that is the stereotypical true thing, it was not my experience growing up and working in the movie theater that I did. Ours were golden yellow and white, and it was meant to mimic the color of the popcorn, which was odd because by the time you put the butter or the oil, it was actually a coconut oil, peanut oil, on the flavored gelatinous ooze that was the synthetic butter that went on top of the popcorn. You ended up with a color that was not quite found in nature, and that's what the buckets were meant to emulate. So that's what I'm going to do, plus the fact that I'm not going to put this right next to this beautiful red chair and have it be painted red. So we're going to make this a golden yellow. Welcome back. I certainly have had some fun today painting and playing around. Sorry I didn't get a lot of it on camera because battery kept dying and I had to charge it. But mostly I have been working on Gizmo and the popcorn box. There we've got the popcorn that I'm quite happy with. I still need to do the golden stripes out here. As I said, I'm not going to do those in red because of so much red that's on the chair. And Gizmo's been coming along quite nicely. I need to do a white dry brushing on the fur, and then of course the troublesome eyes to paint in. But really happy with how the skin and the hair has been looking. The eyes I'm kind of holding my breath on. And the big deal, of course, is putting the chair together. Now, the flocking turned out beautifully. This is how it looks with the chair all put together. I haven't glued it yet, and perhaps that's what I need to do now. But it's looking mighty fine. All of the bumps and lumps and printing inaccuracies or printing boo-boos have all melted away completely. And this looks like from the back. Oop! I still got some some hairs to dust off. Let me take care of those. They get everywhere, you know. But so I need to glue the chair together. And of course, I think Spike is what has the most amount of work that need. Did I call him Spike? It's Stripe. Stripe is the first one. Spike is the second one. But here's what I've been having the most fun with today. This is on the cocoons or the pupae for the mogwai, and this is what I call no wrong answer modeling, because there's nothing really wrong that I could do to these. There's no wrong techniques. I am discovering the final color. I have got some good sample reference to what I think they should look like. And I'm playing with washes, and I'm playing with some dry brushing. And of course I need to go back in and bring out some of the highlights. But really we're at this stage is what I'm calling no wrong answer. So I got to figure out what to do with the webbing to make that look quite like I want it to. But we're getting there. We're getting there. It's appropriately gross and slimy. It needs to have a little bit more of a the brighter areas need to be called out just a little bit more. Now I think that's one dry brushing coat away. Those are looking good, and I'm trying not to rush through anything, because I want to take my time, but I want this. I'm having so much fun that it is going a lot quicker than I maybe wanted to. But there is what Gizmo looks like inside the bucket of popcorn. Now, as I said, this won't be red, but the whole thing will sit down in here. It's interesting the way things are going here. It is presenting a definite order in which things need to happen. Body goes down first, and then the bucket, because his chin needs to fit in over top of the bucket. So we can do that, and then Gizmo can go inside, and everything fits just nicely. And of course these go on the sides. Oops, didn't mean to bump the camera. These go on the sides of the chair. So yeah, it's coming along nicely. And everything that I'm learning, and techniques that are working, and some that are not working, but even with the techniques that aren't working, that's telling me something too. So I'm be ready to carry that into Stripe when I get ready to paint his face. But yeah, I'm thinking that those eyes are going to be the next big deal. Well, that was fun. I just painted in the very large, very brown pupils, or sorry, not the pupils, but the irises of the mogwai here. And I'm going to let that dry for a good long while, and then paint the black pupils in, and then put a gloss over the whole deal. That's what the white highlight that you're seeing is from the gloss of the paint, not because I've painted a white highlight in. But and if I don't need to, that would be great. I rather like it when the gloss of the clear coat gives me the natural white highlight as opposed to painting one in. So we're going to let that sit, and then we'll come back to it in a small bit. I think what I need to do now is make the pattern that I want to use for the drink cup, so that it looks like it was something that you might have seen in a movie theater concession stand. Good morning, everybody. It's Thursday, the gateway to the weekend, and work is continuing on the Gremlin and the assorted accoutrements. Now, I have been piddling around and toying with colors, and I've come up with some eggs that I think they're not eggs, they're cocoons. Gremlins didn't lay eggs. They asexually reproduced. A little pop off of little fur balls that turned into larger versions. So what we've got here are the pupae, the cocoons, And I've come up with some color combinations that I really like. And inevitably someone's going to ask me, well, what colors did you use? And I'm going to say all of them. I used all of the colors for this. And the joy is in looking at it and seeing all the stuff shine through. And of course I couldn't resist, a little spritz here or there or some color shift just to give a metallic sheen or an organic sheen to some of what's going on here. I won't kid you, I had some struggles coming up with the right color combinations of the spider webbing or the gooiness of it. Now, in the old days, I probably would have just covered this thing with rubber cement and pulled out the tenuous things that way, but that doesn't age very well. That's very good for short-term stuff, but I have not seen a good solution like that ages very well. So I'm going to try to make this look gooey and put a gloss coat over top of the whole thing. But for right now, I think I'm very happy with it. I may come back and do one more pass just of contrast to get into some of the creases and crackles. But I think I want to spray that first so that it doesn't, when I do that, it doesn't reactivate the paints underneath it, but it will lay on top of it. So one more good wash coat over all of that, and I think we'll be done. Now, things I have finished include Gizmo here. Let me take him off of the stand. Gizmo is all done. I have put the flat spray on everything. This is all done. The only thing I needed to go back in and do now is put the gloss over, or the clear gloss over his eyes and his lips, and he'll be done. The pop cup is done. I just did did a quick vinyl pattern on this and then sprayed the dark blue over top of, made up a nice little pattern in vinyl and covered the light blue and sprayed it with a dark blue. So this is done. I'm kind of torn as far as the best way to age these lids and stuff. So I'm gonna, again, that's had a flat spray on it, and it may get just a wash coat or a dirtying coat on it. Of course, the glasses are ready for me to put the lenses in, and I'll do that a little bit later. And the chair is in the other room. It's all done too, with the exception of putting all the stuff in it. The chair, I glued the arms and the back in this morning, and I want to touch up that little bit of wood on the front, and it'll be done. So I'm trying to move various elements off of my plate so that I am left with nothing but my friend Stripe here to get finished. I have today and tomorrow, and I think I should be able to do that. First thing I want to do with Stripe, though, is I want to mass in the yellow/tan areas. He's got very definitive stripes, hence the name Stripe, on his arms, on his knuckles, on his chest, and then of course all the detail work that's on his face. But other than that, he doesn't have a lot of demarcation on the rest of his body, so a nice dark wash on that will take care of a lot of it, and then just a dry brush coat over top of that. So let me clean some of the stuff off of the table here. I'm going to do the highlight pass on Gizmo's eyes right now, and then he'll be ready to move off the table. Well, a lot has happened since the last time I turned the camera on. Been working on the Gremlin here, been working on Stripe, and it's all in technique. I gotta tell you, once you find something that works, you keep with it. But this is all going very, very quickly and very well. I was expecting to only get the ivory or the tan areas masked out today, and it's actually going straight into final finishes. But got his chest to where I'm really happy with it, and then all I need to do is carry these colors around the rest of the body, and we are good. I think a lot of it happens when you get a good brush. Now, I go through brushes like nobody's business. I don't spend a lot of money on brushes because I'm going to treat them badly and throw them out and get another one. So I probably will be giving people who really coddle their brushes a fit. But that's just how I work. I'll use them up and toss them out like X-Acto blades. So when you find one that works really well for you, you make the most of it. And sometimes you really have to beat them up to get them into a shape where they'll make a good stippling brush or a good dry brush, because sometimes you have to let them dry out and get the bristles all caked up before they'll make a good dry brushing brush. When they are fresh and happy and new is when they work well for washes, because they have long bristles and they'll soak up paint and all of that. But once you find something that works, you kind of want to make the most of it while it's still working. At least that's been my philosophy. And this comes back to not necessarily a pet peeve, but it's something that I've noticed, that when folks make gremlin sculptures, or this happened back when there were resin kits, and the same thing is happening on this 3D print, they have a tendency to make them hypermuscular and look like real creatures and things like that, and they don't embrace the inherent puppetness of them. And the puppetness of them means they have longer distended arms, and because that's how the rod puppets work, and skinny legs, things like that. They're not hyper realistically proportioned. And like, look at all this musculature in here. That's way too much. Look at the example that I'm showing here. These are either toys or, in some cases, screen captures, and it really shows you the nature of them is that they are Muppets, and they don't have strong biceps and big meaty bulky hips and all that kind of stuff. That is a conceit of the people who are making these look like real creatures. And that's what, I guess, some of the goofy charm of them gets lost when they try to make them hyper real. And I notice it even more noticeable on the Gremlins 2 designs, from the new batch designs. Those were much more stylized, and they tried to make them look hyper real and all of that. And that, you lose something, I think, when that happens. So now I'm just going in here and popping in some highlights on these stripes. It's a brownish on both edges, but with a brighter, almost a cream color in the center. And just, stippling away. And I'll blend some of this back with a, there's going to be a green pass to kind of knock some of these colors back down. Sorry, I'm trying to make sure that I am in the camera, but also that I can hold this up into the light where I can see it. I might need to switch to a smaller brush because I'm starting to stray outside of my designated stripes. But that body's looking good. Let's move that to the side. Head, I've also been working on trying to dry brush in some details around the ears, just on the highlights here, just on the bottom edges. Now on the face, there is more yellow. There's yellow under the eyes. There's yellow in the eyebrows. It's more of a cream color as far as the rest of his stripes and spots. Although I can see going in here maybe with a small brush and some very faint yellow, and put some yellow just in the middle of the stripes. But yeah, it's I mean, you can strive for accuracy. You can pick a good representative, because I have no doubt that there was more than one stripe puppet, and they were not all painted identically to each other. So you pick one reference that you like, you try your best to make it conform to that one reference. In some cases it'll be a picture, what they call a picture puppet, or a picture, sort of like how there are multiple DeLoreans from Back to the Future, or multiple Enterprises, that kind of stuff. But they usually have one that's what they call the picture car. And that's the one that they use for the publicity shots and things like that. And that's, if you can find a good publicity shot of Stripe here, chances are it's one puppet that they've done up specifically for that purpose. Okay, so that's all looking good. Of course, the eyes are just, the color's just background in there. I haven't done anything. I just wanted to get a red in there so that I can see how the rest of my colors were going to bounce off of that. I have to neaten up all of the green here. There's yet another layer of darkness that I want to go in here with, which is almost well, this is a green-black, what I'm using now. And I think I even want to go with a green-black mixed with black to accentuate some of those shadows. Alrighty, it's Friday, it's the last work day of the week, and hopefully you can hear me over the sound of the plotter in the background. Again, I have no control over these things. I can't tell when people order stuff. I just have to get right on it. Finishing up the Gremlin, this went amazingly quickly. I was surprised even by myself that it was going as well as it did. Working on the face today, and I only had to do the eyes once. That's a new record for me. Usually I end up doing the eyes 2 or 3 times. But they think they came out quite nicely. Now I'm going to put a gloss coat over that to really give them a glossy shine. That's the thing that was bugging me about finishing Stripe's body yesterday, is that it didn't have the semi-wet look. Now, I know you're not supposed to get Gremlins wet, but they have a shine to them. They're not flat colored things. I mean, I understand that you don't want them shiny when you are working as a prop in a movie, because it will pick up reflections and all that kind of stuff. But if you look at something like that, you can see a highlight where there is a bit of a gloss to them. They weren't flat like a fur. When Gizmo is in Mogwai mode, that's fur and it's a flat finish. But the Gremlins always looked slick, scaly like a snake, but not dripping wet, not oozing. Obviously, if they were constantly wet, they would be constantly reproducing. But more reptilian is the word I'm looking for. So that's what I was doing, and I just basically took some of the clear green and the semi-gloss black, made a really weak mixture of it, and that's what I put over top of the green that I had yesterday, and that's what's giving me the shine without having to resort to spraying this with like a satin finish, which I probably still could do, and that would even out all of the different textures. I am redoing the shoulder pads because I had them a separate color. I had them the brown that's like on his the big brown scale parts, and that's not particularly accurate. They are more or less the same color as the rest of the arm. Now, one thing I wanted to point out is that the stripes, the self-named stripes, which are this beige color, they have at their perimeters, they have a darker brown that helps delineate the shape so it doesn't go from dark green to bright cream color. So just a matter of taking some brown wash and adding that to the edges of, adding that all over the stripes really, and then going back and retouching the centers of those stripes with the cream color, which in this case is pale sand model color. And I'm just going to dab some spots here in the middle of the stripes to brighten those up. And particularly in his chest, even though, like I said, in the sculpt, it's a whole lot more buff than it should be. These were fairly, I mean, look at that. That's a fairly weak-chested. There's not exactly pec muscles on the six-pack, but the sculpt has given him pec muscles and a six-pack, which was probably more indicative of the second film. And I gotta say, I'm not a big fan of the design of the Gremlins in the second film. There are quite a few very good ones. I particularly like the brain. I liked the bat. I liked the spider. But the general Gremlin look in the second one was this hyper muscled and chiseled look that it didn't fit for some reason. They weren't as goofy looking. Alrighty, kids, we are almost done. I have finished the body to a point where I am quite satisfied with it. I like the gloss, I like the sheen, I like the color variations. Now, I was concerned about how much detail is lacking here, but then again, he's sitting in the back of the chair and you're not going to see that much of it, so it's not as vital, not as crucial as stuff up front. Of course, I'll wait to glue his head in until he is in the chair. But look at that face. Look at that smiling face. I don't know whether it's just sheer repetition or what, but the fact that I managed to get those eyes done the first time saved me a heck of a lot of work, I got to tell you. So let me go out and get the chair, bring him back in, and he will be ready to glue down, I believe. Oh, I also got the film into the 3D glasses. And if you remember a while ago, I was gifted a collection of lighting gels samples. And that's what these are. These are samples from a lighting gel, sections of a sample of a lighting gel book. And I just noticed that one spot here that is going to bug me if I don't get rid of it. Yes, I don't have to paint over it. I can pop it out. Good. So those are the glasses. And I'm not going to glue those down because I wouldn't want to cover those beautiful eyes forever. So I'll just make it something you can take off and on. Okay, believe it or not, I'm down to the point where I am getting ready to glue some of the pieces together for right now, and nothing has been glued into the chair. I want to make sure I don't slop any epoxy on the flocking, but I'm thinking of an idea to add some epoxy drips and gore slime over these cocoons and maybe accentuate some of what's going on here. So I want to experiment with some of that stuff. You remember back when I did the Sucker Punch snake head or dragon head, I was able to whip up a big clot of epoxy and put some paint in it to give it some color and some body. And I'm wondering if that's something I should try here. So yeah, I have enough time left today to figure that out. But all of the other pieces are ready to go. So let's move. Let me do that. Let me move the rest of the stuff out of the way, and see if that is something that can be accomplished. So going to keep the things like Gizmo and the Coke cup or the soft drink cup out of the way, and then I'll even move Stripe off of the table, and then so we can concentrate on this. Okay, this is just way too much fun. I've mixed up some epoxy and just 5-minute epoxy with a little bit of clear yellow and some of that cream color, and it looks appropriately snotty. And just letting it set up a bit and then gooping it on over these over the cocoons here and letting it drip. This is just way too much fun. I recommend it if you have some time to spend and you want to try something new. Make sure I'm staying on the paper here. I don't want to get any of this dried epoxy on my cutting mat, but just filling in some of the, and the nice thing about the epoxy is it's finding its own level, so all I gotta do is like put it on the high spot and it will it's still fluid enough that it will dribble where it wants to go. Trying not to cover up all the nice bits of paint that I've been able to wrestle out of the cocoons, but I can let this dribble down the side of the chair and things like that. And then if it starts to set up, I can like grab a little bit of it and kind of tease it back up in there. But that is looking neat. And this one over here, I tried a couple different colors. I tried some greenish snotty color. I like this more yellowy mucusy color. I might want to try one last bit with a almost a completely clear version, just to see how that will look. But like I say, the more you let it set up, the stringier it gets. Nice. Now, I think I have run the risk of gilding the lily if I put too much on here, so I'm not going to go with that third color. I'm just going to finish this up and kind of let it be done. Nice. I'll spin around here on this side, see how it looks. One last attempt. Kind of tease some of this down where it's starting to pool up. The stringiness is actually what I like, so we're gonna let this get all kinds of dried and stringy. Nice. Okay. Let this sit. Ooh, that's a good string. That's a good string. Where do I want to use that? I'll use that right over here. Kind of tease that down. Nice. Okay, now we're going to let all that set, and then we'll be ready to come back and add the final construction to it. I hate to say it, and I'm going to say it over top of the plotter plotting. I hate to say it. I got everything in. I love saying that part. But the angle at which Gizmo's head is at, he's not picking up the light highlight, the natural highlight. So I'm going to have to paint in just the white dot on Gizmo's eyes, because he's not getting, and I'm going to hold him up into the light, and I'm going to put the dot where the light is hitting it. But he is not getting that naturally where I want it. So I am putting in the white spots. Yeah, there you go. Now you can see it. Now, Stripe's eyes are so far back under those heavy brows that they're not going to catch a natural highlight like some of the other things, but that's okay. His demeanor doesn't need that. Gizmo did need it. Yeah, that's it. That's just where I wanted it. And all God's children sang. Yes, I got every machine in the house running right now, it seems. But that, let me zoom in on his. Yes, that gives me just the amount of baleful expression that I wanted. And here you go, ladies and gentlemen, the finished Spike and Gizmo. I don't know why this is being blown out so much, but if I zoom in, you can see him in the tub of popcorn, and the appropriately goopy cocoons on the sides, the wonderfully flocked chair, and I will do the. I wanted to show his wonderful eyes in there before I pop the 3D specs on, but that's what he looks like with the 3D glasses on. And the soda cup back here. I'm sorry that I keep pulling this turntable out because it's getting caught on the fabric. The back of this. I just picked this cheap little base up at Walmart. Quicker and, like I said, quicker and easier and cheaper than printing the one that came with the kit. I think those highlights in Gizmo's eyes really did set it off. I was resisting it, but needlessly so. And then their smiling face. And on that note, dear friends, the Christmas season has begun. This was quite a fun little project. I actually got through it a lot quicker than I was expecting. A lot quicker than I was expecting. My normal routine is to have to paint everything 3 times to get it how I like it. And strangely enough, this came out right the first time, or at least right enough for me. So, that's the Gremlin. Until next week, when I don't know exactly what I'll be doing, but that's pretty much usual. Y'all be good, be safe, be smart, and if your TV I'm trying to remember the Hoyt Axton thing. If your TV goes on the fritz, there just might be a gremlin in there. Y'all be good, be safe, be smart. I hope you're enjoying the holiday season, and we will see you here next week.
Well, that's the story. So if your air conditioner goes on the fritz, or your washing machine blows up, or your video recorder conks out, before you call the repairman, turn on all the lights, check all the closets and cupboards, look under all the beds, because you never can tell. There just might be a gremlin in your house.